Well, we know that one police officer was shot dead within the last hour. Another, presumably his partner on duty in the Champs-Elysees, was wounded. We understand from police sources that the perpetrator, the shooter, himself was subsequently shot dead. There are rumours, reports, not yet confirmed, that there may have been another attacker. The whole area, the Champs-Elysees, as you know, is a huge tourist destination in the centre of Paris. One of the busiest shopping streets in the city is being sealed off. It's a fairly chaotic scene down there, we gather, presumably because French police are making sure that if there is another attacker, he is apprehended as soon as possible. As far as we know, police confirmation, one policeman was shot dead. His partner on duty on the Champs-Elysees was wounded, but the perpetrator, the man who did the shooting, according to the police sources, was himself then shot dead.
And was it a busy hour for the Champs-Elysees? Were there many tourists around? Do we know how it actually happened?
Well, we don't know the details. There are some reports that the two policemen attacked were in a patrol car that was stopped at a red light. There are also reports that the shooter was in a car that drove past them. These details are still confused. We don't have the full readout of it. At that time of night, about an hour ago, 9 o'clock in the evening, yes, at this time of the evening, it's a nice time of day. The weather is fine. Lots of tourists in town. One imagines it would have been a pretty busy scene at the time, but we don't have the full picture yet. It is a confusing situation. Again, to stress, one policeman confirmed shot dead, another injured, and a perpetrator, perhaps not the only one, himself shot dead at the scene. And the whole area around Champs-Elysees, including the metro line that runs underneath the street, has been shut down, and people are being evacuated, while obviously a very intense police follow-up operation is still underway.
Simon, I know the information is still coming in, but do we know anything about the identity of the attacker?
Nothing at all about the identity of the attacker or attackers. There are some eyewitness reports, not yet confirmed, that a Kalashnikov rifle was used in the shooting incident. The police have said that they are considering this an act of terrorism, but I must stress that we have no information on the description of the individuals involved, where they come from, what their motivation was. The police are, however, calling it at this early stage in the investigation an act of terrorism. No further details at this time on the perpetrators.
And as you said, one policeman is wounded. What about his condition?
Again, we don't have any information on the severity of the policeman's injuries. I think it's worth mentioning at this stage that this city, this country, is under an extraordinarily tight security clampdown, if you like, because in 3 days' time, we have the first round of the presidential election, and you'll remember on Tuesday in Marseille, the police and the intelligence services raided a flat and arrested two people who appeared to be in the advanced stages of preparing a serious terrorist attack against some kind of election target. So it's true to say this country, and the city in particular, is on edge. People have been bracing themselves for the possibility of a terrorist attack like the one that appears to have happened tonight. There are huge numbers of police and military on duty to protect both the candidates and their public meetings, and of course on Sunday the voting itself. This attack, if it is proved to be a terrorist attack, the police are indicating that they think it is, of course, will only heighten people's anxieties as we head towards the polls opening on Sunday morning.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Simon. I mean, 2 days ago, two men were arrested who were planning a terror plot in France aiming for the presidential elections. So what kind of reaction will we see from now on?
Well, you know, ever since November 2015, the terrorist attacks in Paris, this country's been living under emergency law and regulations, effectively. Those are still in place today. Security, the threat of terrorism, has been an extraordinarily important component of the election campaign. And while this incident was unfolding on the Champs-Elysees, the 11 candidates vying for a place in the final runoff were appearing in a television debate on national television. And Marine Le Pen, the far-right candidate of the National Front, was making her point very clear on the issue of security. It's been one of the central platforms of her campaign throughout this election process. How ironic, as she was speaking, some kind of incident was taking place on the Champs-Elysees, just a few miles from the studio where she was appearing. It is not yet clear, of course, how this incident will play in to people's voting intentions, but it's worth perhaps mentioning that in this election campaign, the number of people who have yet to make up their minds on which candidate to vote for is at an unprecedentedly high level. Will this attack affect the outcome of Sunday's vote? We can only speculate at this stage, but I have to stress, security has been a very important part of the campaign.